There, now we're live.
All right.
Okay.
Okie, and welcome.
We acknowledge that we're gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains.
We pay respect to the Blackfoot people's past,
present,
and future.
We recognize the thousands of Indigenous peoples
From many diverse nations,
All Lethbridge home.
including members of the Blackfoot Confederacy,
the six gates of defeat,
Afghana.
Siksika,
unstoppable people.
as well as other First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. We respect Indigenous peoples' cultural heritage,
beliefs,
truth
and relationship to the land.
that stretches back in time.
We will not blink at history.
We will not blink at history.
and we will learn from it.
Oki is an invitation.
A step forward.
In Blackfoot, Oki means hello.
Oki means hello.
Hello. Oki.
Okay.
Oki. Oki, and welcome to the lands of the Blackfoot people.
Okay, and welcome to Dial In and Tell Us About You. My name is the Acapellist, and I'm here with our guest for tonight, the lovely Carola Friesen. And with me is my co-host. Oh, it's just not Diane. Not just Diane. It's Barb and Diane. Dueling co-host. It just gets better and better as we go here. So thanks for joining us. This show is about basically having interesting people on to tell us about things in their life that's of interest to them, their philosophy about life, their authentic self, as much as they want to reveal. So Diane is going to be grilling Carola.
No, not grilling. I just want to add that we live in community. And as part of community, the members of the community are individuals, and those individuals have strengths, gifts, and talents that we don't know about. And so this show is an opportunity to give voice to those very special people that might not have an opportunity to have voice, and we get to find out about them. And I feel like that's a really exciting experience to be part of my life. So I thank Alan for the opportunity. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Barb, who's visiting us in our home in Nordegg, which we are thrilled. And so I invited her to join to be audience to the wonderful things that Carola is going to share with us tonight.
Lovely. That was very eloquent, Diane. Now I understand why you're the co-host. Like, you're the person with the talent. That's
I'm not
awesome.
surprised.
Thank you.
Someone needs to tone you down.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So Carola,
Yes.
welcome. Welcome
Thank
to the show.
Thank
And
you.
I know a little bit about you because the experience that I've had with Alan, little pieces of Carola show up. And I know that you have an amazing gift and talent with the work that you do with your horses. So why don't you just tell us just a little bit about your love and some of your work, because we're anxious to hear.
All right. I will try. I kind of got into horses when I was a kid. I think they kind of helped me. I went through different types of trauma as a kid. And I think horses were kind of the thing that gave me acceptance and love. And so because of that, I've worked with horses most of my life now. And they mirror us quite often, right? So about 1995, I decided to try and become a coach and was successful. And so I've been a coach now for riding lessons and helping people with their horses. And I've trained horses now for the last 20 years, usually starting horses for people or getting kind of a handle on them so people can deal with them. And I've probably learned a lot about myself because of horses. Health-wise, I didn't know anything about my health. I was very naive about things. And then I'd find something out about, we treat something in horses this way. And then I was like, oh, we can do that for me too, right? So I did learn about myself through horses as well.
How about medicines too? Horse medicine.
Exactly. So many of the medicines that we use for horses and animal, cats and dogs are the same medicines we use for ourselves. So we're very similar in many ways.
Well, there's the connection between the vaccine and a medicine that they use for horses, correct?
Which vaccine are you talking about?
about the dewormer.
Ivermectin.
Yeah.
Is that what yeah. So ivermectin is a very common horse dewormer, cattle dewormer we use, for deworming horses. So yeah, it's interesting that medicine is now, like they've investigated it quite a lot for use in COVID, right? And
Yeah.
we're kind of saying maybe now it doesn't work, but it did work a little bit at some point, right? And I've also seen some reports that they're investigating it for use in cancer now too. So
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, there's a new version, the human version of it. It is a protease inhibitor. I believe it is what it is.
It's the same, works the same as what ivermectin does,
Right.
but different is what they tell us now.
And of course, the ivermectin's like 2 cents a dose, and the new one's $87 a dose or something like that, right? So, but that's it. It actually does the same function in the body. The new one, they're saying, oh, this isn't horse medicine.
It
This
has
is
a similar function.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So how many horses do you have?
I think I have 26 horses right now. So you were asking me before we came on the show. I did have 2 babies. I had 2 mares that had babies this year. So they've been lots of fun. And one has touched my heart very strongly. The other one has too, but not the same way. And I don't know if it's because I almost tried to kill her the day she was born, or she was born and she had, first of all, her mother was so overdue, like, well over a month overdue. And
she gave up on her being pregnant.
I actually had pretty much given up that because it wasn't sure. And the baby was born with a swollen hock, which is kind of like our ankle. And so I phoned the vet and she said, oh, well, give her a little bit of Banamine, but put it in a smaller tube. So I got this little tiny tube from Alan. And I went to give it to her, and the tube went into her throat. And then the harder I tried to get the tube out, the further back it was going, right? And she's coughing and sputtering, and she's like only 2 hours old, right? And I phoned the vet, and the vet comes running, and we're trying to get this out, and we can't. And the vet says, oh, well, it'll go through her system and she'll poop it out. And I'm like, no, like she hasn't had anything go through her system yet. She's just born. This isn't going to go through. Oh, well, then you're going to have to take her up for surgery. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then Alan said, oh, let's just look one more time. We'll take a flashlight. And her name is Mocha. And she fought really hard. And all of a sudden we heard something against, her gums or whatever. And there was that syringe. And it was like a miracle in my opinion. Right. And so I always say, she was hard to kill. Thank goodness. Because I really love that little horse. So yeah.
And then now she also has another set of babies that are
3 years old now.
3 years old now.
Yeah.
Two babies.
Yeah.
So your horses, they're born as babies, and then what? I know that as they're older, you use them to work with people. They ride them, that kind of thing. So tell me the kind of the journey or the history from the time they're born until, like, what does that look like? What are the stages that they go through?
So when for the first 6 months, they're with their mother. And then usually at about between 4 and 6, 7 months old, you wean them away from their mothers. And that's pretty hard on them. They get pretty upset, as do the mothers. And then they spend probably 6 months to a year where they're kind of on their own. Hopefully, like I like to put them out to pasture so they can have like normal horse life. And then and at some point there at 6 months, you also want to halter break them so that you can, some people do it earlier. I do sometimes. It all depends on what's going on. When they were born, for some reason, I didn't get them halter broke this year. So I still have to do that. And then probably at about the age of, we call them long 2-year-olds. So in the fall of their 2-year-old year, we can start working with them to get them going as riding horses. Some people do it earlier. There's controversy about it. Some people do it later just because, their bones haven't formed yet and such. And so how much do you want to work them? Performance horses that are shown are often started somewhere in the first year of their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the little ones there. I don't know much about horses. Kroll knows about horses, but I know if you want one to come to you, you don't go walking up to it. You just sit down. All you have to do is sit down.
Curious.
You're not there for 5 minutes, and they're like chewing on your hair and coming over to check you out. So
they're very curious.
So to ride them, do you have to break them?
Yeah. Try not to use brake because that kind of indicates.
I watch
something
Yellowstone.
but we do want to train them to accept the saddle, accept a rider, and hopefully work in partnership with the person, right? That's kind of the whole thing that you want to do, right? So to have a horse that's safe for anybody to ride, first of all, you have to have a good horse, but usually it's going to take a couple of years of good riding, right? 5 days a week for quite a long time to make a real nice horse that's suitable for most people to ride.
And
The sport of reining,
that?
which you've seen sometimes in that Yellowstone. You said you've watched Yellowstone, or
Yeah.
So Yellowstone, they feature some reining performers, and that's what she does, is reining, and that's where they have the patterns and the spins and the sliding stops where they come in. And, and there's
Pretty
10 different
phenomenal,
patterns.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
It is. And we decided not to watch Yellowstone because we decided that there were no good guys. And so now I'm feeling left out because all my friends are talking about all the reining trainers and cutting trainers and reining horses that are being featured on Yellowstone, and I'm missing out on all that. So yeah,
there is a lot about the horses. I mean, I'm learning a lot. I don't know how true it is because it's Hollywood, but
yeah.
I mean,
from what I understand, there's some things that are very good about it. Probably a little bit more on the cowboy side. Like, I always think of your ranch rider being a little bit less. I don't know how I want to say that because I want to be fair to everybody, but sometimes it's not. There's kind of the tree hugging people, and like it goes on a big spectrum. So
like in terms of care for the animal.
Yeah.
Where
you
some.
know what? I don't want to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There. I think I can say this.
No, I think you shouldn't.
Okay. I can't say this.
Let's talk about. One thing about horses is that they're prey animals, so it's kind of interesting to work with them because we tend to be predators in our approach to animals, and so horses work better if we don't act like a predator. So you have to learn ways to communicate that aren't always a predator way of doing things, right? So for instance, if you approach a horse, a predator view would be to look him in the eyes and then walk straight to him, right? But a lot of horses, that would throw them off, and instead you kind of have your, what we call in centered riding, a soft eye. So you walk around and you make a rainbow to the horse's shoulder so that you don't look as threatening, right? So that's the cool thing with horses, is there's kind of a horse speak that you got to learn, right, to really get along with them.
Can you say more about that? Because I've not heard that before, but that's fascinating to me. So what else? Tell us
else?
More.
I need a little.
Well, what are the things you observed that like I wouldn't see, but you would see with their ears, their stance, their like how those kind of things, what they're doing with their mouth, their right?
Yep.
Like your studs, sometimes they'll go ahead.
Well, they definitely talk with their mouths, right? Yeah. Especially studs will let you know if they're unhappy with things. They tend to nip at you.
Corolla is surrounded by studs. Surrounded by studs.
All horses.
All horses. Yeah. All
right. So what else? Like, I'm. Oh man, why am I not thinking well tonight?
Well,
so yeah, we do observe
more about this predator prey
or the rainbow concept.
Yes. Yeah. Say more about that. Like, I didn't understand that. Horses will interpret you as a predator.
Yes, they will.
If you do the eye contact and direct.
Yeah, if you're very direct and straight, and so you can read horses a little bit by their behaviors, right? Like when you're training a horse, you're looking for in dressage, they have the triangle, and you're looking for your rhythm and your calmness, right? So you're looking for horses to respond to you in that way. Versus, just scaring the heck out of them or something to desensitize them. They can become traumatized just like people can, right? So, if you can overstimulate a horse to something that's scary to them, and instead of helping them, you've hurt them a little bit, right? So,
and if they get scared, they can be like blind, like they don't know you're
some
there,
horses
like they
especially,
right? They can react so violently that they might not even consider you in the equation, right?
And that would be some horses more than others. Some, it's just like people, right? That some horses, fear completely takes them over, and so then you need to be careful around those horses a little bit more. And some horses have a little bit more, I don't know, they're not quite as afraid, I guess. And so then they're a little bit easier to deal with when they get afraid, right? But I had one of my babies last year. This is why I didn't get my baby halter broke. He was I did something wrong while I was just starting to work with him, and he had a lot of fear, and it was definitely my fault. And usually when you do something with horses and get hurt, it is your fault. I wasn't reading him well, and he actually ran into me and just about broke my nose, right? And so I had a little bit of, I think, a mild concussion from that. And so you do have to be careful, right, with horses. Why are you laughing?
We have made several emergency room visits about horses.
Oh yeah,
So
but I still walk pretty normal. So
she does. She walks pretty normal after having her feet stepped on multiple times, ribs broken, damage to her face. Yeah. Horses, a horse person's life is a hard life.
Well, and it's only because I'm working with horses that aren't desensitized yet, right? Like starting out with unbroke horses, working with them, and sometimes things happen, right?
So, Carilla, what about the concept of, though, when you're riding a horse? I mean, and I'm not an experienced rider, but I've ridden sporadically over the years, and have been told, make sure that, you know, the horse knows who's boss.
Right. And so
is that contradictory to what you're saying, or is that
not at all? Horses are herd animals, and they definitely follow a leader. So basically, that's, you know, I always make the analogy towards dancing. You know, if you're dancing with your husband or with a partner, and so one person is the lead and one person is the follow, right? And so with horses, we have a lead and we have a follow, and hopefully you're the lead, right? Because if you're not the lead, the horse will become the lead.
Sure.
So that's what you see with a lot of people who are starting to ride. They're not confident enough to be a lead, and so they're a little wishy-washy in their cues to the horse, and the horse kind of will take over, will go where they want, or, you know, right?
Yeah.
So that is definitely.
But so that's definitely that doesn't contradict what you're saying, though.
Not at all.
This, okay, that makes
Yeah. The whole thing really with horses to me is that it's a partnership, right? That you're learning skills so that you can read horses and you can understand horses. You can understand, you know, I think one of the hardest things for people is when to discipline a horse or when not to discipline a horse, right? Or too much discipline or not enough discipline, right? Like it's kind of like raising a child, right? There's all those fine lines where too much is abuse and not enough. The child gets away with too much and then knows that, you know, that they kind of have control instead of the parent having control, right? So very similar to that. You bet. I know a lot of people come to me with horses as a means of relaxation. So I've had lots of people that this is their, you know, coming for a horseback riding lesson is their downtime. So they get to come and they get to relax. So, you know, that's where you want that nice broke horse. That's not, you know, that's not. So to me,
and they don't really have a learning objective. They're really coming for the experience. They really want to learn,
but they don't want to be a high pressure situation.
Yeah, just like more of an enjoyable. Okay, great.
So it's kind of like dancing, I guess, again, right? Like when you first start, you don't quite know the steps, and so if you dance with somebody else who doesn't know the steps, you guys are both kind of a little bit off, right? But if one person knows the steps, then it helps. And so horses are, when they're green broke, we call that green broke is when they haven't had very many rides yet, you know, then they're way more, they don't know what everything means yet, and they're not always doing the right thing, right? And so when you get a broke horse, they know what all the aids mean, and they do everything correctly. However, for sometimes a person that is green riding a super broke horse, they're going to inadvertently do things that make the horse do something, and they won't know what they're doing that's causing it. So you need always the right fit between horse and rider.
Did you know that Corolla was equine coach in Canada? What year was that?
Oh, it was a while ago now. This is the first year they did it.
Yeah, so 2010
or
2012, Corolla was the recognized as a coach for all of Canada for equine coach with the Canadian Equestrian Federation,
yes,
right?
Well, it's Equine Canada.
Equine Canada. Yeah.
Wow. So that was going to be my next question with respect to your clientele.
Okay.
The continuum of your clientele. You said you had some people that come for riding lessons because it's relaxation. They just kind of want to ride to relax.
Yep.
What other kinds of groups do you have in terms of your business?
Okay. I'm not teaching as much as I used to. I enjoy teaching, but everything takes time, of course. Right now I have a wonderful young 4-year-old girl who comes for lessons. So that's a lot of fun. And, you know, it's
And you usually
mostly
don't
the
want to.
experience for her, right? More than, I really enjoy kids, but what I really enjoy as a coach is teaching, right? Like if you came and you wanted to learn the 4 aids, you know, to ride, you know, what the 4 aids that you're going to use when you ride a horse, and you're going to learn how to apply those aids. That's what I like to teach, right? So a lot of the people that are coming to me now are a little bit more advanced, and they're wanting to fine tune their skills with their horse so that they can create maneuvers with the horse, you know, that are, you know, kind of striking, right?
A 4-year-old student is kind of an exception for you, is it not?
It is. I prefer. I usually prefer adults.
So what's
Okay.
this student? So
Yeah.
why is this student so special?
Oh, because I like them.
Good reason. Do you work with any individuals that have disabilities?
I don't. I actually have a student who moved on, and we have a facility here in Lethbridge called Lethbridge Therapeutic Riding Association, and so they have the training and the equipment to help people with disabilities. So she's gone on to manage that program and is just loving it, and it was kind of a dream come true for her. Once again, it's not quite my forte because I really like teaching people, right? I really like the idea of teaching. You know, if you came to me, Diane, especially, I love people who are a little bit afraid, because I can teach them confidence. I can teach them skills so that they feel confident around the horse. And so if you came to me, and you wanted to learn, you know, how to ride a horse and go from A to B at a walk and trot, especially at the beginning, you know, that would be my forte kind of thing.
We should make a trip in the summer.
Yeah, you should.
Barb and I are coming.
That sounds wonderful.
It's you know what? I tried taking lessons from Corolla 20 years ago,
Yeah.
unsuccessfully,
Well, you
because
wouldn't really take lessons. You just wrote.
I just wrote. I was not a very good student in any way, would not take any correction. And so lately I started, yes, I know it's shocking to you, Diane, but then recently I went back and had some lessons. And this time I listened to what she was telling me.
Most of the time.
Oh man, I could learn way more. I could actually do some things if I listened to what she said. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So most of your clientele is adult based then? Not very many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Teenager or adult based. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so up to what age?
I have some people that are probably in their 60s.
There we go.
Well,
Yeah.
now we can come.
There we go.
That's us.
We qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the 70s, she's got students who are in the 70s. So she's got a 4-year-old student and students in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah.
When was the last time you rode?
Ooh. Long time ago.
Yeah.
I used to work, though, when I was in high school at Elkan Ranch.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
So you know a little bit about horses then.
Yeah, that was my job when we went to camp, was to learn about them and how to take care of them and
Oh.
that kind of thing. And then I liked it so much there that I got a job in I think my grade 12 year. So I was out there the whole summer. I worked in the kitchen. And then we got to have access to the horses when the campers didn't. Yeah.
Nice. That's really
Yeah.
nice. You know, the
Yeah,
biggest thing I think that I find with people with horses is that they haven't gotten enough skills yet to be really successful with horses. And so lots of times then they lose their confidence or they get hurt, right? And so it's really, you know, it's one of the few things that, you know, if you have a car, you have to go and take some instruction before you can buy a car, right? But with horses, everybody thinks, oh, I rode once at a camp, so now I can own a horse and I can, you know, and so I think that's probably one of the biggest things is people assume that they know more than they do, right? And then lots of times it's the horse.
I don't assume that.
I don't either. Although when I was working in Parkland School Division, we had a partnership with a fellow just west of Stony Plain that has horses that really wanted to work with kids, and our kids that were really troubled, had anxiety, had some social
Kids on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some socioeconomic challenges that weren't fitting in school, that acted out and just had all kinds of challenges, I think.
Yeah.
And he wanted to work with them and invited them to come out and partnered them with a horse. But really, I heard him in his teaching mirror a lot about what you're saying.
Is that right? Yeah.
Control the horse. Yeah. Be in a partnership. And get to know one another. And I mean, they loved it, and they really, really, really improved in terms of reintegrating back into school as a result of that. They felt like they had some successes, some accomplishments, and they had a friend.
Yeah, I had a young girl, Ted's daughter.
Oh, yes.
She came and she wanted to do a lesson. She was about 14 years old, and she was deathly afraid, right? So we went in the barn. We went outside, and I showed her a little bit about how to lead a horse safely, and then went in the barn, and we were grooming. And then, you know, I told her she had to pick up the feet, and, you know, she just burst into tears, and she's like, I can't do that. And I said, here, I'm going to show you how to do it. It's going to be safe, right? So we got through that, and then we got in the arena, and I got her on the horse, and she was like super, super afraid. And so I gave her, you know, I helped her with some skills, and pretty soon she was walking around, and then I lunged her. So that's where I keep control of the horse, but the horse gets to go. In the end, she was doing walk, trot, and lope on the horse and asking for more, right? So she went from super, super afraid, right, at the beginning to let's do some more of this kind of thing, right?
Hey, do you either you ladies ever watch Heartland, the series Heartland?
I have on occasion. My granddaughter is a huge fan.
Oh yes. So do you like Jack, Grandpa Jack?
I haven't watched it enough to know
Oh.
who's who, but
Corolla has a story about Grandpa Jack.
Yeah, we went to we did a coaching thing in the Ottawa area, and he was the guest of honor for the weekend, and so we got to hang out with him one night. And it's quite funny. We have a picture where he's got his arms around me and doing this, and Al's standing way off to the side, like he has no interest in me whatsoever. So I'm just like, this is quite unusual. But anyway, it was fun. It was fun to meet him. He's a singer, and he's a very nice man. So,
yeah. He's got it. He's holding her hand like this. When I'm standing right beside him, and he's holding Corolla's hand like this. He's just like.
I just want to tell a quick story.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I missed out. Sorry, I apologize. I just had, I don't have COVID. I just had a coughing fit here. But Diane was talking about the program in Parkland School Division with students who were troubled. And I don't know if it's the same stables. I'm assuming so. But I was working in one particular school within Parkland, and was doing special ed kind of coordinator role. And we had a student on the autism spectrum who was terribly afraid of any animals, terrified of dogs. And then of course horses, like just on steroids, right? So his mom though really wanted to introduce him to a horse in a program and get him kind of acclimatized to this idea. So I went with her and this child. And he would have been, I think this is 5 to 9 school, so maybe his grade 6 or 7 year. And so I went several times and watched the progression of him going from like not wanting to even step out of the car to getting on the horse and riding. And it was like just so magical, and watching him brush the horse and all of that. Yeah.
It's very
rewarding. Really special.
I did teach part-time at the Therapeutic Riding Association when I first started coaching. And I'd always have like about 6 kids in a session and start them, right. And the parents didn't tell me. So, you know, the first session we led horses around and just talked about handling skills. And then the second session we saddled up and we're going to get on, and we got this little boy on, and he just had a major panic attack. Right. And we had to get him off immediately, and he was freaking out. And of course, then the parents said, oh yeah, he got bucked off of the pony at the fair, you know, when you have the ponies that walk around. So, you know, and he was 5 years old when he was coming to my lesson. Right. And so lucky I had people that helped me. And so I had one of my helpers, and I just put the horse by the stand, and I just said to the little boy, you know, when you want to, you know, if you think you want to get on, just get on. And if you need to get off, you just get off, and just keep doing that, however much it feels good to you or not. You know, he wanted to get on the horse. Right. So, so for probably
I don't know, 4 nights of the teaching session. All he did was get on and off and on and off. And then, he'd show me, I can sit for, a minute on the horse now and then a little bit longer. And by the end of the session, he was going around with the other kids normal, just like all the other kids, right? But that to me is, how we want to approach fear for us and fear for our horses, right? I always say, if there was, I am somewhat afraid of snakes. Never used to be when I was a kid, but I am now. And so one time my daughter wanted to go see these pythons. There was 3 pythons at a pet store in Lethbridge, and she wanted to go see them. And the shortest python there was 13 feet long. And so, of course, Caitlin's like, let's take a picture, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. So we got to hang out there for a while. And, at first I touched the snake's tail, right? Because the head's still 13 feet away. I'm thinking, it's not bad. And eventually I got used to the feel of the snake and stuff. And I was able to, I had the snake around me, held his head here and had him around me. And then the rest of the snake was around Caitlin, right? So you couldn't, if you'd have thrown that snake on me right off the bat, that would have been a bad thing, right? But to allow me to touch the snake's tail and get a little bit closer and, whatever, like I became desensitized and able to handle the snake, right? And that's how we deal with desensitizing. I always look at that as that's how we want to desensitize our horses and other people if they're having problems, right? Like you don't just throw them in to the thing they're most afraid of. You give them time to acclimate to it.
It takes a lot of patience to do that.
Sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. But I always use that snake experience as, that's how you want to teach your horse too, right? You don't just throw something at him. You give them time, give them a little piece and then pull it away and give them a little piece and pull it away again, right?
So that's kind of where, like, it appears to me, and I don't know much about, I just observe what Corolla does basically, but her approach is always softer, gentler, slower, and at the kind of the horse's pace, right? It's not going to be, so if she's trying to get a trouble child into a horse trailer, like the horse doesn't want to load into the trailer, she might spend 2 hours doing it, right? Would I? No. After like 5 minutes, I'd be whipping
in there.
I'd be smacking and yelling and screaming. But no, she keeps calm and she talks calm to the horse and keeps on encouraging and then supporting. And then the horse goes in. And then once the horse does it once after that 2-hour session, next time it's like 12 seconds.
It might be 10 minutes. It shortens.
It'll get better and better. And then after that, you open the door and it just kind of trots right in. So, right?
Yeah, totally.
My way. It would be a fight every day for the next 100 years. Her way, it's the slower, softer that results in the way better long-term result, right?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Corolla, I learned tons and tons.
Good.
I loved having you on the show. It was awesome.
It was great. Yeah.
It was great. And thank you, Barb, for joining us.
Yeah, it was very nice to have you too, Barb, and your great question. Thank you.
We thought we were going to lose you for a couple minutes there, Barb.
Well,
so it's good her back, so.
I was worried because, when they teach, like you have to do first aid, right? They always say, watch out because a choking person leaves the room.
I wasn't actually choking them. I know that. Yeah.
You're not supposed to let them, but you noticed they didn't pay us attention. I was captured by the horse conversation.
All right. Well, any closing thoughts?
Great to meet you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you. And I'm looking forward to you guys coming down and taking a ride.
Yeah, we're going to plan. We're going to come.
And if if you're watching this and you're saying, hey, I want to talk about myself, I want to show you what things I'm into. Well, come on down. Give us a comment. Send us an email. There's my cell phone number. Call my cell phone. And we would love to talk to you.
It's not that hard.
No.
Yeah, it's easy.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.